Hello, Gripaholics. This is part 1 of episode 107 of This Week in Grip. This is Jed Johnson. They call me Napalm, and I totally missed this call on September 1st because the competition I ran in Syracuse went forever. Can you guess that movie reference, brother? If so, leave it in the comments section below. In my absence that day, James and Alan took the helm and steered the ship strongly, bringing aboard James Fuller, Mr. Strongman Archeology himself. So please take a moment and hit the like button and give us a big thumbs up. Leave comments about the content that James, Alan, and James cover. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. And now, without further ado, let's get this thing started, shall we? Here's part 1 of episode 107 of This Week in Grip. Oh, and part 2 will be coming your way in a couple days.
Episode 107 of This Week in Grip. We are sans Jed Johnson today. Jed had an event that he had to run in Syracuse that he somehow forgot about until the last minute. So it was a facepalm moment for Napalm. But he will not be on the phone with us today. He will not be joining us today. But we do have a special guest, and a very special guest in my opinion, Mr. James Fuller. So most of you that might not know who James is, he's not only a grip specialist, he runs Strongman Archeology. He knows just about everything there is to know about weightlifting, strength, not just grip strength, but he knows a lot about that. The history of weightlifting, the history of different weights. I've had plenty of conversations with James about certain weights that I wanted to pick up, and I've even sent him screenshots and said, hey, what do you know about this? And he'll give me a lot of information on that. So, and plus there's plenty of grip feats that I want to talk about that happened over the last 2 weeks. Most notably, Jesse Peonian lifting 255s, pinching 255s in each hand. First time that's been done simultaneously in a suitcase style, which is pretty amazing. Adam Glass with another pinch where he pinched 286 on a Saxon bar. And, of course, Mr. James Fuller, who we have on the phone, who cleaned and pressed 2 deep dish 35s in a pinch style. So welcome to the show, James. Very glad to have you on.
Thank you. If you don't mind me saying, it's funny when everyone says what you say about a suitcase style and it being harder. And for some reason, for me, a suitcase style just seems to fit better. I wish I had listened to my. Oh, interesting. Okay, all right. I missed the dinghy stones when I was over in Scotland because I was doing it the way everyone else had done it. And by the time I said, "Look, can I do it the harder way?" and it felt so much easier, but I had torn skin on my hand at that point, and it was just not going to happen. But I wish I just would have said, hey, can I have the harder way? I know this sounds dumb, but because I'm so much stronger that way. I feel like I can lock my lats into my hip, and I can get a really solid base. I can drive my shoulder down into my hip by using my lats, and I get this really solid base. And all I got to do is just leg press, and the weight comes off the ground.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed that, too, with the stone lifting type stuff. I mean, everybody sets up in more of a Jefferson-style deadlift. So are you talking about you had them basically at your sides? That would have been easier for you?
For me, and that's the one they were like, whoa, you sure you want to try that? And I'm like, I know it sounds odd, but because I wasn't doing, even though I practice probably the Jefferson lift more than anyone you know. I've been doing it.
I've noticed.
Since I was, when I first started, I'm just a dumb kid at 12 years old. I get the book that says, okay, today you're doing the deadlift. And then the next time, okay, you can do it with the bar behind your body, which is a hack lift. And then the next time I did the one with the bar between the legs, which is the Jefferson lift. I've been doing that since I was 12 years old. I didn't have anyone telling me, no, we just do deadlifts. I was just some dumb kid that's just reading a book going, oh, okay, all right, I guess I should do all these. So I get to the Denny Stones, and I've done a 600-pound Jefferson lift with a regular bar. I've done 550 with an axle bar. It didn't do me any good on Denny's.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's interesting. Like, usually when we talk to somebody about Denny's, and like I've talked to Brian Hunsacker about Denny's before, and what to train for them. I haven't gotten the perspective of somebody who's actually like had a chance at the Denny's and missed. So first of all, are you planning on going back? And second of all, like, if you do, what would you do differently with training? Because a lot of the guys in my group are planning on going out to Scotland next year or the year after.
It was kind of funny. It all became of the woman I was with at the time who lived in the area, and said, "Oh, I know how to set that up for you." And I'm like, okay. It really wasn't on my radar. And then all of a sudden I'm dating someone who lives nearby, and then all of a sudden she's like, "Oh, I know somebody, and I think I can get that set up." And I'm like, okay, I guess we're going to go through this date. It's just something I was against it, but I just never, I never dreamt. And so what I would do differently, I mean, I had sent a video like a month before I was there of me with the farmer's handles that I have from my competition from doing Strongman. And in my driveway, I did like a total of 717 or 720 or something like that on the farmer's handles. Okay. But I did it in a suitcase style, and I should have just remembered that when I got to Scotland. And I should have just stuck with that. Yeah. And that's what I would do differently. If I go back, I don't think my training would be any different. I don't think I need to be any stronger than I was. I just need to go, okay, can I do it the harder way, please?
And you think it'll go up no problem? So if you did go back to Scotland, you wouldn't train for it specifically, is what you're saying?
No, I didn't in the first place.
Okay.
That was just my regular training.
Okay.
I would go back, but I wouldn't do anything differently. I'd still keep doing suitcase deadlifts and Jefferson lifts and all the other stuff I do.
Okay. Well, fair enough.
I don't mean to sound arrogant. I often don't train for anything specific, if that makes any sense. I kind of just do a lot of training, and I rotate around, and I'll get back to stuff, and the other training I've done has kind of made other things stronger, so that something I couldn't do, I now can do.
Well, yeah, what's interesting about that is that, that's one of the things I definitely wanted to talk about was the fact that, I mean, I think every lift that exists. Like, I can't think of a lift that occurs that I haven't seen you do, and not only do, but do extraordinarily well.
Thank you.
Are there, and I know you're big on a lot of what the old timers used to do and how, a lot of the newer lifters tend to neglect things. Are there certain lifts that you do that you learned from the old timers that you would recommend some of the younger lifters doing or incorporating into their training?
It depends on what their goals are. I think people should be asking a lot more from their trainers today. I think that there's too many powerlifting and weightlifting coaches training people that aren't looking to be powerlifters or weightlifters.
Understood.
If you're a powerlifting coach or a weightlifting coach, no different than if you're a Brazilian jiu-jitsu coach or a karate coach, you're going to see all training problems through the eyes of your training. Yeah. That is your perspective. You're going to try to solve it with karate. You're going to try to solve it with Brazilian jiu-jitsu drills and exercises. And it's the same thing with having a powerlifting or a weightlifting or even a strongman coach, is that they're going to see things through the eyes of their experiences and their training and try to make it fit into their field of expertise. And I'm not saying it doesn't work, but I will say that most of the people I train are not competitive athletes. They're people that just want to be stronger and move better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel the old-time lifts required a lot of movement as well as a lot of strength.
Okay. So with that said, like if you were looking at an athlete who was just like, or just somebody who just was like, you know what, I want to increase my strength, I want to increase my flexibility, I just want to be more functional. What are some lifts that you think that they neglect or maybe that people don't know about that could be beneficial for them?
Well, it's like the one that Martin Lucius has set a record on once or twice, the Steinborn lift. You could get somebody squatting 2 to 3 plates that way and tipping the bar over and taking turns which side picks it up and which side drops it off. You're going to develop a lot of core strength, and you're going to develop a good squat. And it's inherently safe. There's safety built in because anyone I've trained on it, I have to lean on them to put more weight on the bar because they're intimidated, which is great because I want you intimidated on a squat. Okay? I don't want you to load up 4 plates on a squat rack and then do a quarter squat or get hurt. So because you're using a more appropriate weight that's well within your capabilities of squatting, you're going to do a full range of motion. You're going to do the reps you're supposed to be doing. And you're going to respect the weight. You're never just going to throw on another 45 and say, screw it, I'm going to max out today on a Steinborn, believe me. You're just not. So it also gives you a lot of body awareness by being able to tip over like that and then squat. That really can do a lot for an athlete or for a regular everyday person.
It kind of reminds me of the conversation we had about bench pressing. How you were saying, you'll make your clients do a pullover, and they won't work with a weight that they can't pull over.
Yeah, they're going to earn the weight on their chest. They have to earn it.
Yeah. I think that's pretty fantastic.
Well, if they pull it over, if something happens while they're bench pressing, they just put it back down from where they got it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Alan, you have any specific questions for James?
Actually, on that pullover thing, so about people with shoulder issues that really don't do pullovers, you leave the bench press out entirely for them?
No, I try to work a way around it if I can. If there's a way to work around it, I might use a trap bar if possible. Sometimes people find that I'll have them lay on the ground and use it and do a pullover with a trap bar. That can help because that neutral grip seems to be less severe on shoulder issues. It seems to be a universal pass on shoulder issues. If you use a neutral grip on a lot of things, it seems to not aggravate shoulder issues.
But you keep the pullover part in, though.
If I can, I can. I'm not going to try to hurt someone. I want them to feel better. But I will try to fix the shoulders so they can do a pullover.
Sure.
And my goal is to make not me look good, but to make the client feel great. And I want them to be strong and healthy and feel good. I don't want them to be apprehensive or anxious about the next workout. I want them to be excited for the next workout, saying, I'm going to get better, I'm going to improve, I feel better. I'm working with a guy now that's 52 years old. He's got torn meniscus in both knees. He's got arthritis in his sacrum. And I can't even tell you what's going on with both his shoulders from too much benching and too many easy bar curls. And he's probably the hardest person I've ever had to try to unwrap and unwind and get moving. And
you haven't been in the gym with me yet.
Well, hopefully someday, brother. But I'm telling you, this guy has tested everything I've been doing in the past 35 years, and he's coming around. He can actually start doing exercises and stretches he hasn't been able to do since high school. But it's taken us 15 weeks to get to this point. The first 9 or 10 weeks, he couldn't even feel what we were doing. He was totally shut off from his body. So, like, if I'm hammering and I hit my nail with a hammer, I'm going to yell some words that you probably shouldn't say in public, and I'm going to stop what I'm doing. He was so shut off that he would have hit his hand with a hammer 3 or 4 times and then go, something doesn't feel right. That's how shut off he was from his knees and his hips and his back. So he had no idea how much damage he was doing to himself.
It's interesting. You mentioned 35 years. And I know you had said, you started doing Jeffersons when you were 12 years old. So what would you say were the origins of you wanting to be strong? And what were your dreams when you were a kid when you thought about strength?
Well, it's not the answer most people are going to expect.
Okay.
My parents both had back issues. They're tall. Mom is 6 foot. Dad is 6'1". I believe Mom can hook grip an inch dumbbell. That's how big her hands are. and I keep telling her to this day that obviously she doesn't love me for giving me these hands that are this small, you know. And no, seriously, if you shake hands with her, she'll swallow your hand, dude. You know.
Wow.
It's just gone. Yeah, just gone. You know.
Oh, you got screwed.
Oh yeah, my little sister's 6'3", and she's saying the same way. You know,
Okay.
Here I am at 5'11" with these little tiny Oompa Loompa hands, you know. Yeah. Which is
I
why
can
I don't
relate.
think,
Well,
it's why I don't think my grip feats are a big deal. I'm like, look, if this idiot with 7.5-inch long hand can do it, then
Okay,
anybody can
we're
do it.
all in the same area. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've all got the same hand size.
My right hand is 7.5 by 4.5, and my left is 7.25 by 4.25.
Yeah.
So I when
It
people are
sucks
like,
to be average.
Well,
yep.
I just don't think it's a big deal anything I do, because I'm like, look, if I can do it, any idiot can do it. It's just keep at it. Just don't quit. You know.
Yeah, right.
Well, I think
You know.
I think you underplay it a little bit, though. I mean, when I watch you, to me it's almost kind of like watching, a samurai. Like everything has got purpose. Everything that you do like with, I don't want to say perfect form, but I mean as close to perfect form as you possibly can. And there's just this sort of pursuit of excellence in all of the lifts that you do. And it's not just that. I mean, there's this persistence that you have and patience that you have to have that is very sort of samurai-like. And for 35 years of training, you have to have those traits to continue to go at it and to continue to make gains the way that.
Well, the first rule of training is don't get hurt.
Yep.
If you get hurt, you can't train, and that's not going to do you any good. That's not going to get you any closer to your goal. So that should be first and foremost. Whatever you do, it's like the doctor's oath: do no harm.
Yeah. The Hippocratic Oath. Yeah.
Hippocratic Oath. So with my parents both having bad backs, around that time that I started training, I started getting sciatica issues at 12 years old. And
at 12?
I had a pretty extreme manual labor career already by that point. I had started splitting wood by hand when I was 7 for money as a job. I had started mowing lawns with push mowers for money, shoveling people's driveways for money. In the wintertime, raking leaves and shoveling lots of dirt, just odd jobs from the time I was 7 years old. I had done a lot of manual labor. And
that's rugged.
So I don't think anyone, I'm not going to really worry about beating anyone in a strength contest, but if you want to see if you can outwork me all day long, you're gonna lose. Yeah,
the work capacity there is.
Yeah, I learned it at a young age. I mean, it was just poor. I helped pay bills. And they would help pay, they would always pay me back, but there were times they needed me to help out. It's just how it was then. It's not sad. It's just how it was, and I actually am thankful for being able to help your family and to learn how to. I think when you're young, you think everything's the end of the world. You see a big pile of dirt, you get a shovel, you think it's never going to get done. Well, after a couple of years of doing that, you start clicking in your head. If I just keep at something with little shovelfuls, this problem will go away. And then you start looking at it in terms of training. Don't look at the big end goal of your training. Look at what you need to do today so that tomorrow's a great training day. That's all you need to do.
Exactly my philosophy. Yep.
Yeah. So,
wow, that's awesome.
So because of my back issue at 12 years old, I said, well, all right, Mom and Dad have back issues. I obviously have back issues. I need to start training to get stronger so that I'll still be able to work, because I like working and I like money.
Yeah.
And so out of just dumb ignorance, not realizing, hey, guess what? When you're training, your sciatica gets better. I was crawling out of bed and crawling down to the bathroom and crawling to go get dressed at 12 years old. And I said, well, I need to get stronger. Not that I thought it was going to fix it. Like I said, I just simply knew that I needed to shore up, so to speak, so that I could work.
Yeah.
That's all it was about. And then
it kind of reminds me of, have you ever seen, which Batman movie was it with Bane?
Where,
he's talking to Bruce Wayne, and he's like, you you adopted the darkness. You know, I was born into it.
Born in it. Yes.
And made it. Yeah.
Yes.
You're like Bane of training, but it was like, you know, at 7 years old, you were working yourself to the bone and established a sort of rugged James Fuller mentality, you know. But it's also very patient and thorough, and it's a sight to behold. It's pretty interesting as somebody who's, you know.
Well, the play was pretty severe too. I did a lot of play, and if you think about back in the 70s, you know, I mean, yeah, I had a computer, but my parents were like, "You've been on that a whole half an hour. Get outdoors," you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And you know, I mean, if you wanted to go sledding, and sledding was the funnest thing in the world, and guess what? The best hills to slide are the biggest, tallest ones. So you got to work really hard to get to the top of that hill to go sledding. The best hills to come racing down on your bicycle are the big, tall ones. So you got to crank up there on your bicycle to have a great time coming down on your bicycle, right? I mean, it's just.
That's true.
I mean, we would have games where who could swim the furthest underwater. So you're holding your breath, and at the end of the day, you would take a deep breath and you cough because you had inflamed all your lung tissue.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't get athletes to do that kind of work capacity and foolishness, but as kids, it's a game.
Yeah, it's true. But, you know, a lot of what you just said, too, about, you know, having to climb to the top of the mountain before you go down the hill on the sled, it's like, it kind of reminds me that you know, this idea of entitlement is essentially that we have rights, but we don't have responsibilities. And you're basically saying that what you had reinforced was like, yeah, like you have this right to have a good time, but there's a corresponding responsibility first.
Yes.
You know?
And that's part of what I like about training people without power racks or without a lot of assistance stuff is I want them to earn the weight that they get to use. And they feel more empowered because it's like if they go on vacation and they go somewhere that doesn't have a rack and they want to do an arthur lift, which is with the bar behind you, you pretty much do a quick hack lift up over your butt, up onto where your belt would be, and then you hop it up your back, and then you can either press it, or do jerks, or squats. Actually, I've done squats over 300 pounds that way, and it's empowering because you're not scared. You learn to become fearless with the weights because you become so much more part of the process rather than being dependent on a squat rack or squat stands. You're doing it on your terms.
Yeah.
And you know that if anything goes wrong, you can control that weight and put it where you need it to be. And it's a much more aggressive feel to it. I think it's much more empowering to the people I train.
I will say this. You're not scared. But every time I see you load a bar up onto the bottom of your feet and you do one of those leg presses with the barbell, with like 300 and something pounds on it, I get scared. I get scared for you. Because I'm like, please, if it rolls, please roll over the heels.
It can't roll though. I mean, I can do a video for you showing you, but it can't roll. It is totally sunk into the soles of my feet. It won't come off my shoe. It's stuck into the shoe. It won't come off the shoe until you almost tilt all the way horizontal, and then it will finally come off the shoe. Yeah. So it's unbelievably safe. It's one of the most misunderstood things, and the reason why I wouldn't train it in a power rack is because, again, you're limited by your upper body strength with how much weight you can put on your feet. So no matter how much weight I get up there, it's at the beck and call of what my upper body can do, which is nothing compared to my legs. So it's an easy 10, 12 rep set.
Okay.
It's never a weight that I can't do 10 to 12 reps with. Never.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Alan?
No, just talking about that. I figured one day we're just going to stop seeing Instagram posts for me anymore, and that'd be why.
He's going to be pinned under a bar in Maine. Starving.
I'm going to be a potted plant in Maine. That's awesome. I love it. Oh, yeah. Yeah. The York Memorial. Yeah, potted plant. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm curious about? Because, you know, I've heard kind of, I've heard different perspectives on this, but you know, for me, I always deadlift in Chuck Taylors. Do you have a specific type of footwear that you go to for the different deadlifts, or?
Barefoot or Chuck Taylors. It's either one.
Yeah.
Either one. It's kind of, you know. I remember in grade school. I think I was in second grade, and I remember the school was talking about people with disabilities, people with mental and physical disabilities, and they were talking about, trying to have a little compassion about it. And they said, imagine putting mittens on and trying to button up your shirt. Yeah. Or imagine putting an index card on your forehead with one hand and then taking your other hand and trying to write your name. And they were saying that's how it is for them. Okay?
Yeah, empathy.
And
so building empathy, yeah.
Yes. And so you start looking at, the gloves on the hands, and I'm thinking that it messes up your signals with your fingers. And I'm thinking, well, cushioned shoes probably does the same thing, right? So we want as much nerve impulse as possible. And when you've got 500 pounds, or I've done an 1,100-pound yoke, picking it up. I didn't walk with it, but I picked up an 1,100-pound yoke in training. Do you want something cushiony that's telling your body, well, no, it's really only 900 pounds on your back? Or do you want something hard like a Chuck Taylor, or do you want to be barefoot getting the full nerve impulse that says, hey, man, tighten up, this is 1,100 pounds?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a no-brainer to me.
Maybe that's actually what's going on, but I always preferred like deadlifting and things just wearing socks, actually.
Yes.
Barefoot things always seem to get kind of slippery, whereas socks kind of help that from happening, but shoes never felt natural. And I always seem to, even grip lifts, I tend to do better when I'm actually just wearing socks as opposed to shoes or anything like that.
Yeah, well, and you're half an inch lower to the bar, too. So, so that helps.
Sure,
well,
yeah.
Well, it's and I think you get better connection with the floor. I think you can brace and root yourself into the floor, kind of some of the martial arts thought.
Yeah, you can kind of turn your glutes on a little more, which seems to help things. So, yeah, that's what I've always liked that. I never thought of like the nerve impulse. So that's an interesting topic.
Yeah, and you were listening to what was right. Your body knew, you knew,
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll close my eyes during jerks or snatches or something, and because if anything goes wrong, instead of being blindfolded, if I just close my eyes and I feel something's going wrong, I can just quickly open my eyes. But it's amazing when you just close your eyes to do a movement. It's amazing how internal you stop taking in all this information outside of you, and you immediately just become so internal. You just start listening to everything.
See that?
And
I've noticed that about you. I've observed that in a lot of your lifts. And I'm going to try that one. That's clever. I've never considered that.
No, yeah, that's not me. That's from reading. Please don't think I invented much of anything. I'm just some guy that's read a lot.
No, it's something that I've never tried, so it's worth a shot.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing how internal you just all of a sudden. It's like going to high def TV on the inside because you don't realize how much you're not taking in. You close your eyes, and you're getting bombarded with stuff. You're like, whoa, I had no idea this was going on.
It's easy to implement. You just shut your eyes. I mean, okay.
Yeah, and then if something goes wrong, you just open them, and you're back to balance and see where you are in relation to anything, And I'm not saying you got to do snatches or whatever, but that's an example. I've used it on snatches and clean and jerks and just
right now.
Amazing.
That is good stuff. You ever tried that? Other James?
No. I used to do it at arm wrestling practice and stuff. I would do stuff like that, just goofing off. But no. I mean, it's not gonna. You could have your eyes closed, and it's not going to affect you arm wrestling in any way. But I've never tried it in any kind of lifting capacity. No, I haven't.
No, it's just something I do when I'm having and I will particularly employ it when I'm having a hard day connecting with stuff and I'm getting frustrated. Wow. And so I'm like, you know what? Just shut your eyes. And it helps you quiet your mind, too, because all of a sudden it becomes quite focused. It's like your mind is searching for info. So if you can just help it, guide it where the info you want is and stop looking. That's why I'm not big on mirrors. When a client's like, how come you don't want me facing the mirror? And I go, all right, I'm going to go get a piece of wood, a nail, and a hammer. Now, do you want to knock that nail into the wood looking at the nail, or do you want to look in the mirror as you knock the nail into the wood?
See, I tell you guys, I promise people some Mr. Miyagi stuff from you, and I get this. I get total Mr. Miyagi stuff.
James, with some of that other stuff in mind, then, do you not even listen to like music when you're training?
I used to, and I love to. And it really helps me if I listen to music because I'm a very music-orientated person. I almost always have a song in my head. I'll even wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and there's a song playing. Like, I probably should have been a musician, and I love to sing. I grew up singing. I've played instruments in the past, and I love singing. But I don't, simply because social media has just made it too much of a pain in the backside to even bother anymore. It's just, you used to get copyright strikes on YouTube for CDs that I bought 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And so it's too bad, because you know what? Us lifters, a lot of us like music, and if anything, I'll ask lifters, hey man, and not only do I ask training, I like to ask people, what do you listen to for music? Because I think lifters find that interesting about each other.
I agree.
So social media is like, well, no. And I'm like, but the band and the publishing company already got their cut 25 years ago when I bought the CD. No, doesn't matter. I'm like, oh, okay.
They're not even together anymore, and some of them are dead.
Yes. And so then, so to me, they'll start trying to put ads on my YouTube videos, which to me is double dipping. I already paid for the music. No one's going to rip an entire song from my video, and if anything, it's free advertising.
Yeah.
For your band.
Yeah, that's true. And for the most part, you can go on YouTube and find this stuff for free. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my playlist that I listen to while I lift is on YouTube. You know, and it's the same few hundred songs usually.
That's what, yeah,
and
I'm the same way, actually.
So with that being said, what do you listen to, Mr. Fuller?
Well, back in the day when I would do it while I was training, I would listen to all kinds of stuff for a long time, because I get addicted to certain albums, and this one album was perfect because it was about almost exactly an hour long, was Operation Mindcrime by Queensryche.
Oh, gosh, I remember Queensryche. Yeah.
And I remember Queensryche, but I don't remember that album.
That album is an entire story from beginning to end. It's telling a story. And cool. It's going through a guy being drugged and accused of a crime and murdering people, and it gets religion involved and corruption of government, and it's an entire album that tells a story. And they used to do the whole album in concert, you know.
That's cool.
But,
well, you know, it's funny hearing you describe that album. It makes sense that you have such a keen eye for history in general, and you know, if you could talk a little bit about the origins of Strongman Archeology.
That started on Facebook, I think 2013. That was a young man, well, not a young man, I guess. I was in my 40s. Sorry about that. I'm going to be 48 in November.
You're still a young man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still getting stronger, so praise the Lord for that. I'm still getting stronger. I train 6 or 7 days a week, and I got no complaints. And so Strongman Archeology, at the time, I was getting into competitive old-time strongman lifting. And I was not happy, let's just say, with the lack of video reference. I can look at still shots from 80 years ago, but that doesn't tell me anything. And if you think about camera technology in the real early days, you would have to hold the position for a while for the picture to be taken, okay?
Yeah.
For enough time on that photo plate to make a picture. So when you're looking at stuff like the Arthur Saxon era, early 1900s, you're looking at people that might have to hold a position for 5 or 10 seconds. Well, that's not a natural position during any exercise.
Yeah.
You're going to unintentionally assume a position to help you stabilize for those extra few seconds that you never would do in the actual lift.
And by you're talking about old-time strongman lifts. Are you talking about USAWA contests?
Yes, I started getting into those.
Okay.
At first, I had been doing powerlifting, and then got into competitive strongman. I think when I was 35, I got into competitive strongman. I think I was 33 when I got into powerlifting. And I think later on that same year, I got into competitive weightlifting.
Okay. So your goal with Strongman Archeology was to take some of the lifts from an Arthur Saxon's era and show actual video on how you can do the lift so that you can do it safely and properly and so that others could do it in you know, the strength community.
Yeah, I wanted to get some reference out there. I was mad there wasn't. I was really disgusted. There wasn't much in the way of any reference at all. And I'm like, well, I'm going to put it out there, and if what I do is wrong, I know the internet. Somebody will tell me I'm an idiot and I'm doing it wrong. Great, fine, I don't care. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. I don't care. Tell me what I'm doing wrong.
They're going to tell you even if you're right.
Oh, exactly. Yes, absolutely. So my goal was like, okay, I just want to get these lifts out there and get video reference. And what's interesting is I kind of got away from it, the competitive aspect, because I started realizing I really like what these lifts do. Like, I've helped people with shoulder issues by having them do the arthro lift, which makes most orthopedics cringe. But I've had people that all of a sudden go from not even being able to front squat properly to they can front squat, and now they can back squat for the first time in 20 years just from having them practice the arthro lift.
Present company included.
Yeah. Yeah. You get their shoulders open, you know.
Oh, yeah. And I need, gosh, if anyone needs that work, it's me. Because my issues front squatting are, you know, I mean, my front squat's 100 pounds less than my back squat. And it's painful. It's still painful in my wrist and shoulder, so I could certainly use help with that.
Yeah, between that and the waiter's press, just laying the plate flat on the palm of the hand, it's a great way to stretch out your hand, your wrist. You can do presses that way, bent presses, push presses. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
so
it's not rocket science. It's just kind of stepping back away from the problem a couple of steps, getting a perspective and going, yeah, this can be fixed.
Yeah. So,
I mean, let's be honest. If you did it to yourself, you can undo it to yourself, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, like a lot of my issues. Yeah, I was going to say
up to a point.
A car accident did it to my shoulder, and you know, 15 plus years of training my wrist not to bend backwards did it to my wrist. So it would be a while probably to undo that. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be too far.
It might be too far. The other thing is, you know, I do a lot of mobility work with the weights. And what's nice is if you go to stretch, say, the toe touch, right, your only gauge is how it feels, right? That's it. Well, you have some days where you're actually – have you ever had workouts where you felt not so great? You wound up going in and having one of the best workouts you ever had?
Oh, yeah, so often. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
So, you know, by me using weights to get people, like working with this guy who's 52, by using the weights and using exercises with weights to get him more mobile and open up, say, his hamstrings, when he goes from using 20-pound dumbbells to 30-pound dumbbells, he can quantify that he's improved his mobility a certain amount. And he's not only made his joint more mobile, but it's also stronger because we've used the weight to increase the range of motion, but now he's going to lift the weight back up through that new range of motion.
Yeah.
So we're accelerating. Go ahead, Alan.
No, that makes sense, what you're saying. Yeah.
So we're accelerating his improvement rather than just going by feel. All right, let's get this many reps at 20s. Let's get this many reps at 25s. Next week, I feel good. I'm going to go up to 30s. And so it just amplifies, or not amplifies, it speeds up the mobility issue, fixing it. You know, it really shortens the time because the weight helps pull you into position, you know, rather than focusing on what holds you back on a toe touch, the pain, right? So if instead you're using something that forces you down a bit, I'm not saying use 300 pounds. I'm just, you know, you can just use it on an Olympic bar. But as you do your reps, you don't even have to think about it. All of a sudden your body will release and you'll get lower and lower and lower without even thinking about it, just by doing reps. You know, because the body's just going, oh, you want to go this way? Okay, all right, yeah, okay. You know, and so mobility can happen quickly. It's I've had people I've worked with that could do splits in about 15 minutes of training. You know. Well,
yeah, you know, I was going to ask you about that because the Van Damme lift, the picture of you out there with the 150-pound dumbbell holding between is it 2 chairs or 2 benches? Or you're doing a split and you're holding that dumbbell. How, how?
You don't ask the question because you won't believe the answer. I didn't train for it. That's my normal walking around every day mobility and strength.
Wow.
There was a guy that wanted to do that lift at a record day. It was a USAWA. They have record day meets. So it's not a standardized setup meet. It's a day where you can come in, you pick 5 lifts that you think you can break the national or world record on, and you do so. And this guy had brought in an extra bench so that he could do the Van Dam lift. And he was a little tiny guy, about 145, 150.
Okay.
And when he starts warming up for the lift, and he kind of jokingly said, "Does anyone want to join me?" And I thought, what the hell? So I started doing stretches with him, and the look on his face, because I think I weighed about 240 at the time. And the look on his face as I'm dropping into splits and going into sides, and he's just like, "So you train this?" I said, No, this is that's how flexible I am for my training. Oh, okay, yeah. And then I just, had I known the world record was 168, I would have gone for the world record, because 150 wasn't that hard. I just had run out of attempts. I'd never done it. I'd never done it before, so how would I know? I'd never done a split between 2 benches, even fooling around as a kid. I'd never did that. I think I just turned 42 years old, if I remember right. Yeah, it was November, so I just turned 42, and that was just my normal. Well, I didn't train for it. I don't like training for stuff. I like competitions because you put a circle or an X on the date on the calendar. There's a fire under your tail to be ready by a certain date. I love that part of it. You send in your money. You rent the hotel room. You get the bus tickets or the plane tickets or whatever ready, and you're committed, and that's great. That puts a lot of focus, and you don't skip the workouts that maybe you would have skipped, and you put more intent in your workouts, maybe more intensity. And I love that. But what I don't love is how you become focused on just that. And that anything else I want to mess around with, I feel like I can't mess around with anything. I got to stick to the plan, and that's a good discipline. And I understand that. But training just to be good at a certain lift or 3 lifts, to me, is like going to a dojo that only teaches 3 moves, and I just think that's a bad idea.
Sure. I don't know. I kind of resemble that remark, but okay.
Well, if you have goals, listen, I'm all about everybody having goals, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I have goals. I have to do what fits my personality. If somebody was going to threaten my wife and kids and said, "You're going to train like this from now on," then I would do it, whether it fit my personality or not, because my personality is the kind that doesn't want my wife and children dead.
Yeah.
But if I'm not in that situation, you have to. It's when I work with clients, I work with what makes them happy. I don't force people into anything.
Sure.
I want people that really want to improve, but if they're not showing me they really want to improve, I'll cut them loose. I would rather have people there that want to be better, that want to learn, because my job. What's the saying about teach someone to fish, they eat for today? Give someone fish, they eat now. Teach them to fish, they can eat for a lifetime.
Sure.
Listen, as awesome as I am as a trainer, I might be able to see 10%, 15% of what's going on. But the trainee, if they start learning, they're going to know a lot more about what's going on inside them than I ever will.
Yeah.
So my need to do right by the client, I've got to teach them how to be their own best friend and how to figure out what they need.
Yeah. Okay.
Like the client I have now, I can get on him about, he wears shorts all the time, and I think a lot of his knee issues come from his calves, and I'll say, "You didn't stretch your calves today." He goes, "How do you know?" I go, "I can tell by your muscle tissue that it doesn't move when you step. There should be a certain amount of shock absorber action, you know what I mean, when you take a step, and his doesn't have that today." And he goes, "No, I haven't stretched today." And I go, "Well, go stretch,
Yeah.
But that's one thing. But he's going to know more than I'll ever be able to see.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
You had said, it does. But you had said previously that you could get somebody to do a split within 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Well,
barring some catastrophic injury or whatever.
Yeah. Well, Jason Otto, who trains with me, I've been trying to get him to a split for about 12 years now. So
nice.
So what would I do if I had Jason here and I wanted to get Jason into a split?
I would just the split hand push. I don't know if you've seen that exercise.
Okay.
But it
sounds like an Instagram opportunity for you, James.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. It's going to be 15 minutes to get Jason Otto to do a split.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, it'd be fun. Yeah, I I worked with a kid over in Scotland when I was doing seminars in Scotland. The kid had grown up sitting in a beanbag playing video games, and he was now going into college, and was kind of like, these things called girls, they're kind of cool. Maybe I should start going to a gym. And he had wicked, horrible mobility issues. And he came to our seminar, and our Introduction to Old Time Movement seminar. And he did really well. And then one of the times I met up with him at the gym, he's like, I've always wanted to do splits, but I know I can't. And I go, you got a few minutes? Sure.
A few minutes.
And within 10 minutes, the kid was getting down. I had to leave. We were one set away, so what I would do is I'd have him do a set with each leg, and then let's go retest on the floor. And each time it was going down and down and down and down. It was just, and it won't last long. I won't deceive anyone. It's not going to last long because it takes a while to change the natural resting position of your joints. But temporarily, what's going to happen is, let's say I get him to do that day. I just about got him there. He needed 1 or 2 more sets at the most. I had to leave. We had to leave at the time. But so that might last 30 minutes, 45 minutes. The next time he comes in, he does it. It might last 45 minutes to an hour. And it's something that he's going to have to get stronger at up to a point that his body stays that way. Like, I can do a split cold without warming up. That's my goal with everyone I work with. Whatever their mobility goals are, I want them to be able to do it cold, because life doesn't care if you're ready or not. Life's going to happen. So you're going to get into a car accident. You're going to slip on some ice and fall down the stairs. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. So let's have you ready to go cold.
Okay.
You know?
So if you were to recommend to people about stretching, would you have them stretch on a daily basis the same muscle group, or what would be the frequency that you would have them stretch?
Well, I because of the old time movements I use, the mobility is built into the program.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're going to do jerks, push presses, or presses from behind the neck, I would recommend Arthur lifting the bar up the back, which is going to keep your shoulders open all the time.
Okay.
You know, if the clients I work with, people I work with, if they're doing pullover and presses, so the shoulders are always staying open because they're doing a pullover before they press.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we'll do side lunges, which is stepping out away instead of stepping to the front. You step to the side and come back, and that keeps the groin loose, keeps the knees and the ankles open. So the old-time movements keep you open because you're regularly practicing them.
Okay.
So I don't find there's a need for a lot of additional stretching. It's more of, if you feel something tight, we can either work it the next time you come in, or you can try to stretch it on your own during the day, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to evade the answer. It's just the approach is different.
No. I get what you're saying. It's kind of like this guy who wants to train with me. He's always asking me questions like, oh, so what day are we going to do this, and what day are we going to do that? And you know, one of the things that I've told him is that, like, look, that's not really how I operate. Like,
right.
I'm working what I feel can work that day.
Correct.
You know, what feels good. And I'm wondering,
Correct.
Do you have the same sort of approach? Is that how you set up your programming?
It depends. Like, for me, I train six days a week. So you can't be that regimented with 6 days a week training.
Yeah.
But with 3 days a week, I don't have as much time to mess with. I got to get stuff done because I've got 3 days to work with a client.
Yeah.
So I usually will have someone train Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I give them weekends off because people have commitments. And if I get someone that's like, I really, either they physically love training, like they really need an outlet during the weekend, or they find that a workout on the weekend keeps them focused about Monday, helps them kind of stay on task, I'll say, go do a 15-minute or even a 10-minute grip workout.
Yeah.
Go take a couple of plates, pinch them together, and go do a farmer's walk. Yeah. Whatever. Something simple, It's not going to take any time away from your family, nothing that anyone's going to notice. 10, 15 minutes is not a big deal. And it keeps you on task. Fine.
Okay.
But, for me, because I train 6 days a week, sometimes 7, it depends, because I'm dieting, so I've been dieting the past few months. I've lost, 35 pounds or so. And,
oh, wow, awesome.
Thanks, yeah. And it's, so I kind of, you can't, if you train 3 days a week, it's kind of like going to the buffet. You can do that 3 days a week maybe. But if you're going to eat a little bit, if you're going to want to eat every day, you eat a little bit every day. You eat enough to get you to till tomorrow. So I do the training today to get me to tomorrow.
Okay.
So it's I have a plan in mind. I got a day that I do snatches, and I got a day that I do cleans because I'm into trying to get back into competitive weightlifting right now.
Oh, okay.
I have a day that I'm doing pull-ups. I'm lighter now, and I'm working on pull-ups, and middle finger pull-ups is a lot of fun right now. I've never been able to do that, so that's fun. And then I got a day to complement the pull-ups as a pullover and press.
Okay.
And then I put a bent press in between those, and then grip work on days where I'm just not feeling all that great.
Gotcha. So do you have dedicated grip days?
They are dedicated to the days that I'm not feeling very good. If that makes any sense.
Okay.
If it's like, okay, snatches are not happening because the speed, movement, mobility, timing, quickness, they're just not there today. Today's a grip day.
Yeah.
And I'm on limited calories because I'm dialing. So,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So, what about, you talked about getting back into competitive weightlifting. Do you have any specific goals, lifting-wise, or any feats of strength, or even grip goals?
I have. I want to snatch 300 pounds, clean and jerk about 350. I want to arthur lift about 350 because your arthur lift and your clean and jerk should be about the same.
Okay.
I'd like the Steinborn lift 500. My best is 435, 430, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let Steinborn lift 500.
Wow. Okay.
And I've got a goal of doing a one-hand pinch of the York deep dish plates. I think that's going to be soon.
Wow.
Well, it feels like it's nearby.
It's so crazy with somebody with our hand size to be able to do that. It really is.
Yep.
Because I have that set that Scott Johnson had sold to Anthony Vassaturo. I'm driving him up to Legends this week in Worcester, Ohio. And, of course, I've messed around with him and tried to, lift him with two hands and hold him with one. And it's just like it feels so out of any kind of width that's close that I could pinch that kind of weight with. So
and
it's
the contact area is rounded and thin.
Very small contact area. Yep.
So it's very easy for the plates to slip into each other. One will slip into the other one.
Yep. Yeah.
And they are probably the most insidious combination of hard to one-hand pinch and hard to hub lift.
Yeah. I'll just put it this way. Scott hasn't been able to hub lift the ones that he has. I know he's done, I think it was third generation York deep dish. The ones that he's selling to Anthony, he's not able to hub lift. I gave it a couple of shots in my garage and was like, oh, the hell with that. You know what I mean? So,
well, it's the last batch they made. So it was the last run because the ones with the 45 cast into the plate would have been the last ones they sold, like 66, 67, maybe into 68, somewhere in there. So by that time, I'm sure York's casting process was a lot better than it was when that plate first started back in sometime during World War II, I believe, 44, 43, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Right? So probably that hub is a lot smoother, not as many imperfections as some of the earlier.
It is, and it's sloped a great deal.
Yes. Yeah. So I have a 20-kilogram version of that plate, and the hub is a quarter-inch shorter, which is the vertical section that's on the plate you're talking about. Yeah. So this
you're
has
saying essentially that's how they made those plates, right? They took a quarter inch or so off of it to reduce the pound from the plate.
Well, I don't know if it's to reduce a pound. I think it just happened to be that way. I don't know.
Okay.
I'd have to really, and you and I would have to get up both styles in person and kind of look them over together.
Yeah.
But that has none of, when I compare trying to easily grip hub lift my third generation York 45s, I can tell there's a vertical component to that hub, the last quarter inch that's gone. It's non-existent on the 20 kilogram.
Yeah. Wow.
And for anyone who cares to know, at this point, don't get too excited about finding any. I'm not saying it's impossible, but there are about 5 pairs known. So
yeah,
it's a rare plate.
Did you say, was it Florian Kellersman that's got a set of them in Germany?
Yeah, I'm really mad at him. Thanks a lot. Here I am, all satisfied that I've hub lifted the York third generation. The hardest of the plates to hub lift. I'm sitting there thinking, I'm king shit on Third Island, and he gets a hold of me on Messenger going, hey buddy, can you do this on the kilogram ones? I'm like, dude, those are like unicorns. What are you talking about? And he goes, well, no, I have a pair. I'm like, well, that's cute. And he's like, no, I can't. He goes, I can hub lift the regular 45s all day long, but I can't hub lift these. And I'm like, really? Huh. So I'm like, okay, that's awesome, good for you. And I'm just ignoring it because I'm like, I've bought so many plates, I'm not buying anymore. I mean, I've driven to Kentucky on Christmas Day from Maine to go pick up some plates.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
that's
one
of the things I was going to talk to you about, because you and I are very similar in that way. I don't do multiple states, but I'll drive to like Virginia.
All righty, grip guys and gals. That's part 1 of episode 107 of This Week in Grip. Subscribe to the channel and get the email notifications so you know right when episode 2 is ready. Woo!